would you go about making a sporty, modern Bentley? That's a question we're sure few have asked. And yet here we have the answer, the Continental GT Speed. This is the Le Mans edition, a name that restores the long-forgotten visions of the Bentley boys' success there in the 1920s. This simply preposterous car, though, makes 616 horsepower and 590 pound-feet of torque. It has a claimed top speed of 205 miles an hour, and it weighs an astonishing near 5,200 pounds. How can that possibly work? This week on Ignition, we find out. With all-wheel drive, launching the GT Speed is trivial. The velocity it generates, though, is anything but. Equally impressive is its stopping performance, its tires and carbon ceramic brakes quickly shrugging off speed. The GT Speed primarily understeers around the figure 8 course, but it posts a respectable lap time. The Bentley Continental GT Speed would seem like a strange car to drive quickly. It is all-wheel drive. It is very heavy. It's a Bentley, for crying out loud. It's got an 8-speed automatic. Everything about this is wrong for driving fast. And then you realize that it all works. It's the strangest thing. You throw this car down a mountain road and it's fun. The weight sort of disappears. The size sort of shrinks. It's absolutely bizarre. You have a connection with the front axle in this car that you don't get in a lot of cars. This car feels very precise. It feels very accurate. It's easy to throw into corners and approach its limits and ride them hard. Also, the fact that it's a Bentley, that you're driving really fast and approaching people in front of you way faster than they anticipate, is also humorous. I'm not using the shift levers because they're too far away from the steering wheel. But fortunately, you don't have to actually row your own gears in this car. There is so much torque, 590 pound-feet, that you can just leave it and drive. You don't even have to try sport mode. Make sure your speed's consistent, ride the boost through a corner, and then explode out. This car is so fast through corners that most of the time I find myself not even going flat on the throttle. It isn't, like driver's car, like Miata qualities. But it is enjoyable to point through. I mean, you can fall into a rhythm with this car and really lean on it. I still can't, I have to keep returning back to the fact that you can drive this thing hard. You can slap this car around and it takes it and it likes it. And that's really fun in a Bentley. One annoying thing though is realizing that if I lift off the throttle and go to the brakes, there's still a bit of engine overrun that gives me more acceleration than I anticipate into a corner, and no engine braking whatsoever. It's kind of disconcerting the first few times it happens. Now, as this is the Le Mans edition, we have beautiful stitching all over the car. We have really nice leather seats, quilted and all that. It's a very pleasant place to be. I have the seat coolers going, I have the seat massage going, basically all the things you'd expect with a $250,000 Bentley. One disappointment though is everything in here looks kind of Volkswagen-ish, but it'll always work. I guess that's the upside. There's a character to this car. I mean, in the way it looks on the street. It's not a sleek sports car. It has a bold, muscular stance to it. It makes no claim of being a light car. I mean, this thing weighs over 5,000 pounds, and at that point, who cares, really? There's a sunglasses holder in here that feels like it weighs a pound. There's a phone in here by Bentley. The gas cap feels like it weighs a pound. They just don't care, because you know what? The car works. There's a character to this car that gives it the sensation of a old British muscle car. This feels more like a James Bond car than perhaps a modern Aston Martin does. And that's kind of cool. We have to keep coming back to the weight of this car. It is over 5,000 pounds and it is capable of 205 miles an hour. That shouldn't exist. There's something I think inherently crazy about a 5,000-pound object that is capable of going 200 miles an hour. Fortunately, we have carbon ceramic brakes, but they might not be up to snuff. We're able to get some pretty decent wear and fade out of these brakes as we're going down this mountain. And perhaps that's not a fault of the car. That may just be physics at work. Before driving this car, I never would have been the kind of guy who would want to drive a Bentley. But this speed is like no other Bentley I've driven. There's just some weird agility in this car that shows how much you can do with just tuning and making a car handle like a sports car, in a sports car fashion. This aptly named machine is far faster and capable than it has any right to be. And it's that dichotomy of weight and speed and balance that makes it so thrilling on the road. But on reflection, could the GT's speed surplus of everything automotive, power, weight, grip, and so on, be any more appropriate for a Bentley?